Officials warned the government that ACT's definition of the treaty principles were a novel interpretation of Te Tiriti with the backing of no expert opinion, and that the proposed legislation could pose a threat to social cohesion.
Those briefings were made available to the Waitangi Tribunal, which uploaded the whole lot onto their website, infuriating ACT leader David Seymour. Political reporter Jamie Ensor has more.
Provoking passionate protest at Waitangi, the government's plan to define the principles of Te Tiriti has become a political lightning rod. A Waitangi Tribunal inquiry this month was showing confidential policy briefings from officials to ministers, briefings the tribunal has since made public. David Seymour, who's in charge of the work, says it should be up to the government to decide when that happens.
I just think it's more respectful to the people in a democracy that the government they elected is actually able to get on with the job instead of someone unelected sticking their oar in.
The policy is still being developed, but the briefings were based on principles proposed by ACT. Importantly, the principles mention the rights of all New Zealanders, not just Māori.
What sort of successful society do you have when one group have political rights that the rest don't have? That's not equality and that's not democracy.
That interpretation raised eyebrows. In a December briefing to Justice Minister Paul Goldsmith, officials said ACT's principles differ significantly from current understandings within the Crown, Courts and Waitangi Tribunal, and the principle relating to Article 2 appears to be a novel interpretation with no support of it in any legislation or expert opinion.
I would go a step further than that and say some of these are closer to a fabrication.
There are people who have different views, but I think that's healthy. My view is that the treaty gives the same rights to all New Zealanders.
Seymour wants the policy to spark a national conversation about the treaty, but the briefing said it's unlikely to facilitate the type of national conversation that will help address uncertainty and apprehensions. And there was a substantial risk it could generate further division, which poses a threat to social cohesion and trust in institutions.
So it's not the idea of a conversation itself that is a worry, it's the fact that the particular conversation being proposed just is detached from realities.
When you politely and respectfully debate our future, that actually leads to greater understanding.
The document shows Seymour later told officials that ACT's principles were just a starting point, but he won't give away their current shape.
Despite the Waitangi Tribunal effectively leaking this, I do still have to be respectful of my cabinet colleagues.
Not wanting to give away too much, even if others have.
Jamie joins us now. Kia ora, Jamie. So has the Waitangi Tribunal explained why it made this information public?
In her memorandum, the Chief Judge said that she essentially didn't buy the Crown's argument. That was that because this policy is still being developed, there's a strong public interest in withholding these documents. The judge said that restricting the documents would limit the tribunal's ability to refer to them, which would be contrary to the principle of justice, that justice needs to be seen to be done. Now, these documents do lay out a bit of a potential pathway forward for the Treaty Principles Bill. If given a green light by Cabinet, we could potentially see an exposure draft bill for consultation around the middle of this year, and then nearer the end of the year we could see a final bill. Of course, the Prime Minister has said previously that National won't support this past Select Committee, and this policy is still being developed. We need to wait to see that final shape, but David Seymour will also need to get a final tick of approval from his ministerial colleagues.
Jamie, tēnā koe.